Hello, everyone. Welcome to NeoUnrealist. I haven't really talked about the new the Batwoman series that opened this week on the CW, leading up to the premiere, because, quite frankly, I lost interest in the CW's Arrowverse, as their superhero shows are called. I stopped watching them on a regular basis, maybe 2 or 3 seasons ago. Which, trust me, was hard for the CW to do, because when they started out, I actually really liked the Arrowverse. I really liked Arrow and The Flash, even though it was more of a lighthearted show than Arrow was. It was still okay in its early seasons. I mean, hell, I even found the first couple seasons of Supergirl watchable, if you could believe it. Even if there was a certain amount of rah-rah girl power that you had to sit through in some of the episodes, some more than others. But, I never took to the DC Legends of Tomorrow series. And then Supergirl started to deteriorate into a constant drumbeat of SJW, alphabet people, agenda themes, aliens as metaphor for real-world aliens, alphabet people characters up the yin-yang, and, just those issues everywhere you turned. And because the shows are all connected with the characters appearing on each other's shows in crossover events, it all just sort of bled together. And it started to make the entire Arrowverse, eventually just became a social justice soaked mess. So with that obvious conflict on my part, I didn't think I could give a fair take, on Batwoman, sight unseen. So I decided to just wait for it to come out and then just tell you what the outcome is in terms of the bottom line, the ratings, and the reactions. Now, if you were aware of the show already, then you probably already know that for some inexplicable reason, the CW decided that the most important thing about this character, Batwoman, and the thing that they would market not so subtly about the show is that the lead character, Batwoman, is an alphabet person. You see, Batwoman, likes girls, for those of you in Rush Limbaugh's fabled Real Linda. This seems to be the sum total of the character and the basis upon which much of her history, of interaction with the other characters is based. But to my mind, this was not going to be what sunk this show. I mean, I feel if the show were actually good, I sincerely doubt that guys like me would care. There's another CW show that I really like. It's The 100. And the lead character on that show, the character named Clark Griffin, portrayed by the actress Elijah Taylor, she's an alphabet person. And her most significant romantic relationship on that show to date has been with another woman. Didn't care. And if we're being honest about it, it was actually kind of hot, that subplot. Two hot alphabet person chicks getting it on, with each other. Yeah, somehow I just don't see the fabled male troll audience that the SJW journalists like to talk about, getting all worked up about that. The key difference here is that the character Clark on The 100, she's not defined by being an alphabet person. It certainly is not the main point of interaction between her and the other characters, and the show's writers don't write her lines of dialogue to constantly remind you that she's an alphabet person, or that because she is a woman, she's perfect and is incapable of making mistakes, and that men are no good, and that her judgment is inherently superior to the male characters. If anything, the character Clark Griffin's identity is that she does make mistakes, sometimes big mistakes that cost the lives of other characters. Many of the characters, they resent her, and some of the choices that she's made, and the things that she's done that turned out badly. It's thin to say that, based on the trailers on one episode of Batwoman, you could draw comparisons, but I just don't sense that that's what's going to happen with this character on this show, Batwoman. Anyway, enough about my first impressions. What do the numbers say? What does the data tell us about the premiere of the show? Well, the data is in, and quite frankly, it's abysmal. Batwoman is the worst rated CW Arrowverse premiere ever by a mile. TV Line reports Batwoman premiered to 1.8 million viewers for a 0.5 rating. I mean, they tried laughably to spin that as a solid start by comparing it to the first episode of Supergirl Season 4 in the same time slot from last year, saying it was up 20%. I mean, who is TV Line trying to fool? The arc of TV shows is that they open to their biggest audience when they're new, because people tune in to see if this is a TV show that they're going to want to watch going forward. Okay, your audience doesn't typically grow on most shows. For most shows, it's the first episode is probably the biggest audience you're ever going to get. Now, as the season rolls along, the average TV show tends to shed viewers, as inevitably for most shows, people just decide they're not going to watch it. And typically, most shows, they'll eventually just retain a core audience, which will tend to dwindle until eventually the show gets canceled to make room for something newer and fresher to try and draw in more viewers. You don't compare Batwoman Season 1, Episode 1 to the fourth season opener for a show that's already dwindled away. You know, Arrow Season 1 debuted all the way back in 2012. It had 4.14 million viewers. That's more than double what Batwoman drew, almost 2.5 million viewers more, and that was a show 7 years ago when the CW was smaller, less known, and there was no core Arrowverse audience built in yet. 2 years after Arrow debuted, it came The Flash. This was the second show of the Arrowverse, and the shows were connected. They happened in the same continuity. And The Flash opened its first episode to almost 5 million viewers. It was 4.83 million viewers that tuned in. So it actually improved on Arrow. Now, it wouldn't be fair to compare Batwoman to Supergirl, which was the next show in the Arrowverse that debuted, because Supergirl's first season happened not on the CW, but it happened on CBS. Now, CBS, it's obviously a full-blown national broadcast TV network, and Supergirl's first season debuted to 13 million viewers. I mean, come on, it's CBS. So that just blows Batwoman out the water. So I'll be fair, and I'll compare it to Supergirl's Season 2 premiere, when the show moved from CBS onto the CW itself. So Season 2, Episode 1, the debut on the CW for Supergirl, was 3 million viewers. Again, 1.25 million higher than Batwoman. And then you have the shows that premiered more or less after I started quitting the Arrowverse. You had DC Legends of Tomorrow. That show had 3.25 million viewers for its first show. About 1.5 million more viewers than Batwoman did. And there's even a new show that came out last year called Black Lightning. And that one kicked off last year. That's where you start to see the downtrend, where the SJW infused Arrowverse, it's my theory, that's what's causing it to suffer. It only got 2.3 million viewers. So that's the first Arrowverse show where you really start to see a drop off in new interest. So it seems to have less interest than the other Arrowverse shows had on their initial debut. So the Batwoman number of 1.8 million viewers for a season opener, that's an unmitigated disaster of a number. I mean, history tells us, like I mentioned earlier, that number is most likely only to go down. And to go by the most recent example, last year's Black Lightning, it started off with, like I said, 2.3 million viewers for its first episode. By the final episode, it was down to 1.6 million viewers. That's a loss of 700,000 viewers, roughly 30% of its audience. If Batwoman followed that same pattern and bled, say, 30% of its opening audience by season's end, you're looking at a show with 1.2 million viewers by then. My guess, if it does that, the CW probably brings it back for a season 2. But if the following season sees further erosion and that audience falls below 1 million viewers, I mean, I doubt it gets a season 3. The CW canceled iZombie, I think it was season 4 or 5, when it dropped to 650,000 viewers. I think they're moving Charm to the dreaded Friday time slot, because last season it only pulled 850,000 viewers last season. So it looks like for the CW, their tolerance is if you fall below 1 million, they start to move you around or consider canceling you. Now, if you want to look at the Rotten Tomatoes score, though, it's ugly. The Shield reviewers, as usual, they're trying to prop it up, with a 72% rating, but the audience score is a microscopic 11%, based on 4,034 user ratings so far. You have guys like Paul Tassi over at Forbes. I pick him because he's representative of the SJW Shills trying to spin this. He's trying to spin the IMDb and Rotten Tomato user ratings as, with no real evidence to back this up. It's a conspiracy theory that, the lead character being an alphabet person is the cause of the bad reviews. I mean, this is nonsense. There are other shows on the same network currently airing with alphabet person female leads. They're not getting bad ratings on Rotten Tomatoes. The show I mentioned that I liked before, The 100, it has a 92% tomato meter rating from the pro reviewers, but the average audience score is a very respectable 77%. It's gone through 6 seasons already. So DC Legends of Tomorrow, again, a show that I don't really watch all that much, more of an ensemble show, but the most prominent character on that show, and really the leader of the team, is, you guessed it, an alphabet person chick who's into other chicks. Tomato meter professional reviewers, 84%, they seem to really like that show. Average audience score, 71%. So, the same people who are already watching shows on the CW network, presumably, they seem to like The 100 and DC Legends of Tomorrow, in spite of the alphabet person female leads. Is there something stopping them from clicking in their browsers over to the IMDb or the Rotten Tomatoes page for Batwoman? The show that's been advertised all over the CW for months on end to give it a positive review. I mean, look, it's only 4,000 user ratings where this show is currently sitting at 11% on that rating score. It wouldn't even take a whole lot of them to bump that rating up. What is preventing these hidden, rabid Batwoman fans from just clicking on their browser? I mean, and forget even pushing it up. I'm not even asking to push it up into the 70s like The 100 or DC's Legends of Tomorrow. How about just get it over 50%? Could it just possibly be that there's no enthusiasm for this show because it's just bad, or maybe it's just meh? I mean, this doesn't seem to enter into the realm of possibility for these shills. It's got to be that those dastardly trolls, those man babies again, are in some kind of conspiracy to drive down the rating. I mean, let's be honest. Might there be a few cases of that? I mean, sure, I'll buy it. I mean, I guess there might be a handful of people who just for whatever their reason, they're just rating the show low. They haven't watched it and they never plan on watching it. Probably as many people as the activists who probably rated this show highly, and clearly they're not watching it either by the if you're judging by the ratings. So my take at this point, after one episode, this show probably has 2 seasons in it. I mean, the only way I think it survives longer is that the CW just does a bunch of crossover events that force the fans of the other Arrowverse shows to have to watch Batwoman to follow the plots on the shows that they like, because their characters are on Batwoman. Otherwise, if this thing starts pulling a Charmed or a iZombie type numbers, season 3 might be wishful thinking. That's all for this NeoUnrealist. If you want to help the channel, do me a favor, hit like for this video, leave a comment below, mash down the subscribe button if you're not already subbed to the channel, and click on the notification bell beside it. Put it on the all setting to keep up with newer content. If you want to contribute directly to the channel and toss your hard-earned dollars into the tip jar, follow the links below to Subscribe Star or PayPal. If you watch this on BitChute, you can just click on the green tip pledge button on the video player. Anyway, thanks for watching.